Hello. I noticed a problem when I was taking the course of computer programming understanding. Well, that's not the name of it, but it's CIS 110 where I took it. They'll have different names other places. But in either case, it requires the use of the Visual Logic course program. And I noticed that that program does not, at least when I was using it, the trainer course, doesn't allow you to go with your arrays above 10. If you try to take an array above 10, it'll crash on you. I'll show you what I mean. I'll show how to do it as well. Let's see. Oops, wrong one. First I'll make a for loop, which is basically for x equal 1 to some number. In this case, I'll just go to 3 to demonstrate the basic idea. Here, it's an input variable, say number x, which tells it to use x as part of the name, so each time there'll be a different name, slightly different. And that is what an array is, effectively. I'll put it in console so it doesn't show the different window for each one. Okay. And then at the end, I have an output space. So the numbers you entered were no, wait a minute. The space, just combines them together. Number, no, the, I'll make it so that it works right in the center. So entry number space x plus space after the number. Entry number 1 was space then this, then the word oops, has to be all same. Capitalization will make a difference. And then that is the number. Period. Oops. Plus and period. Then enter. Now to make it also in a console, and not an individual banner for each one, I'll put that. Okay. Now when I run this, I think I'll leave this in even with the mistakes if I make any. Someone will probably learn from that. A for loop, and in that for loop it asks for input number. Okay, that should work. For some reason it's not. Debug run. Okay, for checking. Oh, wait a minute. Enter number. Enter, yeah, not entry. I'll just do it that way. Entry number x. Now run. It still doesn't work. Okay, that's a little too much. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot something. And this one did have me going. I think I'll leave it there. This one did have me going for a while. I thought everything was crazy. It's not working. Why is it not working? And it's just sometimes it starts with a display beneath the programmer display, so you never ever see it in the first place. And since I have this thing set to minimize, I just don't see it. Sometimes you have to press stop a few once, really, but I do it a few times. And then that should be it. T1. 2 and 3. Entry number 4 was 0. Oh, it was not a mistake. Actually, I should probably call this one mistakes with loops because I'm making enough of them. Okay, here's the thing I knew to do, but I did not think enough of it. I should reset the number of x to 0, or really to 1. Let's see. And while I'm at it, do it at the beginning too, just in case. So that would be assignment, and we would say x equal 1. I'll use a tab key to go there right away. And here, I don't need it, at least not the first time I do it. But for the sake of knowing absolutely that the number is controlled, really this will do that all by itself. But some things you want to do sometimes just to keep your mind straight on it. I will say number x. No. X equals 1 equals 0. Now it should do it right. Let's see, does it do it right? Was 1. Yes. But to make sure it's not just goofing. Oops. Yep, it worked. But it didn't do the other ones. And here's the thing. You can do a whole bunch of stuff and then realize you need to put it on a loop. You can do that after the fact. You just go to the same thing with a for loop. X equals 1 to 3. Or I could say this way. Max. Or count. Just for the sake of it, I'll say count max. And then here will also be count max. The reason I'm doing this is because if you're doing a large amount of things, you may want to be able to just change the number without having to change each one. And this method allows you to do that. Assignment. No matter how many times I do this, it'll always be the same. Count max equals 3. And I only have to go here. Should I make 5 or 8 different things to change the count max? Now here I just pull it. And you can highlight multiple things and pull them too. Now, if I did everything right, it should put them out individually. This way, 10, 20, 30, and 10, 20, 30. You can even place output space console to make it part of that. And then when you do it, there's the space. Or number results in space. Number, oops, wording has to be in quotes. Results. I'll make it a double space. And this doesn't seem to always work, but I'll try it anyway, because it should work. I'm thinking it was probably something I did wrong. So, and it didn't work. For some reason, it doesn't always, when you put this like this, it doesn't work. So instead of doing that to make sure that it'll always work, rather than doing that, which should have worked, but for some reason doesn't. I guess because it considers it simply an enter key rather than part of the quotes. I have to put it out ahead of it. It's workable if it's by itself for some reason. Oops. I'll leave that like that to show what it looks like if you don't put it in console. And it stands by itself. And then the rest. Now putting in console, exact same thing. Instead, it's like this. In that space. Oh, because I didn't put one. Enter. Hopefully this doesn't confuse. It's supposed to help. Space before and space after. Now the real problem with this, it'll do that. But when you try to go from, it'll even take 10. You can put 10 and it'll still work. Play numbers. They all come out right. And then, but if you go that one little extra, I'll say this because I had a question which actually requires you to go to 15. And this happened. 1, 2, 3. Yes. 11 is out of arrays numbers bounds of 10. It can't go above 10. It won't go above 10. It refuses to go above 10. What in the world do you do when you have a program that tells you, a project, an assignment that tells you to go to 15 and it won't go above 10? This is artificial, by the way. There's absolutely nothing preventing the program from being able to go to 20,000. It's just that when they make this course version, apparently, it's a guess, they limited it so that it wouldn't be equal to the final course, so that you'd have a reason to buy that one as well. Which is not bad, it's just, yeah, I guess it makes it easier for teachers to get you trained on this, so it's a win-win in a way. No blaming of anyone for hating it like I do, though. You can get over this with an if condition and a little bit more. You have to do the same on both, though. Let's see. If, let me see, x equals, the if condition is x greater than 10. You can do it either way, greater than 10, less than 10. If it is false, then it can just carry on like normal, no problem. But if it is true, then, let's see, you'd make a new one. I'll use y just because I'm used to x and y. Whatever works for you. You can say a and b for that matter. In fact, a and b probably works a lot better, especially if you're doing more than just up to 20. A, B, C, D, and so on. Let's see, but I'll use y equals 0. If it's true, then assignment. I could have said 1, but I don't want to have to switch gears between when it's the first or the second one, so I'll make y 0. And therefore, all I have to say is y equals y plus 1. And now, let's see, just as this was input number, I'll just copy this for the sake of avoiding having to do all that again. Input number y. And here, paste, but change this to y. Right? No. Leave that as x because it's still going by that. It'll work. For a moment I thought I had to change it. Not on this end. Let's see. Put number y. Now basically, this whole thing can be copied down here. But wait a minute. Copy. I've never tried this before, so it may not work. Paste. Fortunately, it is as advertised. It works. Okay, but instead of input, this is going to be output. It isn't necessary to do this like that with the copy. I just wanted to see what it would do. Let's see here. This one, if it's false, then as usual, we can go there. I will make y also equal to 0 for the assignment here. Y equals 0. Just as it is up there. Here x is a 1. It really doesn't matter what I make x because it's a for loop, but I'll make it the same in both cases. I don't even have to address it because saying for x equals 1 to count max is the same as saying x equals 0. So, or in reality, it's the same difference. It won't mess it up. But I do it that way just to keep my thoughts on track. Someone else might want to try that too. So I have no reason to show it. Here I'll also copy. Oops. Have to close it. This becomes an output in console. Copy everything. Memory entry X was here. It changes. Y. Just to make sure. X. Number X. Number Y. Yeah, so everything should work unless I've overlooked something. Now, count. 1, 2, 5, 6. Oops, I did overlook something, but I'll do it for now. 11. In there, they all come out, but can't be seen because I didn't put 11 in console. And that works. That works up to 20. 21, you'll have the same problem, and you'll have to put another one there. What you would do is, if it's greater than 10, first, let me show this first. There they all are. That is how it works. But the way you would do it if it went beyond it is, well, it'll be fairly simple. But let me change max to 20 first, just to show that it works up to 20. Notice I only have to do that one time. That's why I like using that. Oops. That's what happens if you press enter without inputting anything at all. I do not know why, but there's no option to make it otherwise. But this is a trainer, so it's probably just as well that it makes it as hard as it can. So you'd be more likely to learn. It would be a shame not to run into troubles when they were teaching you and then you run into them in the real world and have no way of figuring it out. That was 20. Clearly, if I make it 21, I'll just have the same problem again without a bounds. But for the sake of ease, for the sake of making sure that every person who happens to see this knows for a fact that that is the case, I will go to 21. Lingering doubt can confuse a person enough to keep them from catching on to something that's normally simple. They're still wondering about that. 11 is out of bounds, right? So yes, it does happen. Now here you would make the same kind of a for loop. Let me see. Not a for loop, but an if condition. Now, if it is greater than that, you want to check and see if it's also x is greater than 20. Oops, that would be the next one. But after this, you'll just be following the same pattern. There's no need to show that. Let's see. If it is not, then it can carry on. Whoops, it can carry on business as usual here. And since all the y equals would have been brought up, now here's where I would want these to be A, B, and C, and D. If I thought of this sooner, I would have used those letters. But I'll just use something short. I'll use XI. No, Y1 actually. That'll work. Let's see. Assignment. I could have made that X1 and X2, but this will work. That'll work. But think of those as just ideas. X1, Y1 equals 0. Y2 in case I change my mind. Or 3. Since we're dealing with 30s, I should call it 30 actually. C30. Count 30s equals 0. Since it works there, it should work here. I mean, if it could be count max, it can certainly be C30, just because the number should make no difference. I'm sure it doesn't. Assignment C30s or count 30s equals. This is a lot of typing, but I like it. And it makes it very obvious what it is. I say common sense, but yeah, in a way it is common sense. If someone looks at it, they'll know what it's talking about. Plus 1. Change this to count 30s. I would have made the other ones count 1s to 20s and so on. But none of that matters so long as it's gettable here. Count 30s equals count 30s plus 1. Then you basically just do the exact same thing. Again, say input console. I'll do that first so I don't forget it as easily. Count number, plural or singular. Number count 30s. There's no reason for that not to work. If it doesn't, then you'll see it here. And so will I. I haven't tried this before on this program. Count 30s. Okay. Wait a minute. I'll leave that like that and check this. Okay. Entry number X. Yeah, it's all the same. Now down here, it's not important that only 3 of them, but I'll put it in the same order as well. If it should turn out to be 40, then it would matter. Could the input and output be in the same order? But only mentally defined it. The program doesn't care. Before the loop starts again, I'll tell it to start over. Count 30s equals 0. Oops. Only that would work, but it won't. Equals 0. That equals is not an option. If you were to do it like that, it would do this. It would cry and whine about it. Has to use that equal. Yeah, 2. Now, it's getting a little too complicated for me to try and copy. So, I will just make it here. And that would be x greater than 20. What? Oh, wrong. Messed up. Not assignment is what if condition is what I need. Oh, and this, by the way, is the first time I've tried to make a how-to for Visual Logic. I guess that explains it all, huh? Okay. As usual, business as usual. If it's false, and over here, I had to make up this method when I was taking it. Of course, I didn't have something like this. It may have already existed, but when I looked for it, it wasn't there. So I figured I'd make it. Now here, it's easy enough to copy. Although, there's a little point to it. This one, I can use that. But this one becomes an output. I only need this. I could have copied that up there. Output. Oh, no. Wrong place entirely. Everything is different, so I really didn't need it. Okay. Okay, entry number, that number is still according to that main for loop. But here is count 30s. Okay. Now if I were starting this all over again, I would, instead of saying X and Y, I would say count ones, 1 with an S, and count 10s and count 20s, but that's just because I like it. At this point, it's too late to go back. But in case you've been following this and wanting to put this into something, you should be able to do that. But it's easy to miss things and then everything crashes and then you don't know. So I guess I will do that. But if you leave it exactly like this, it should still pass. It should still be fine. It just won't be as neat as it should be. But why stop there? Let me check, see if this works. Oops, I did that again. 21. Out here, output console. And I made that 21. Which means, just barely went into it, but it could go up to 30 now. Now I want to change all these back, all these over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to underneath them put what they are to be. That way it'll be a reminder to me what I'm trying to do. And that would be count ones equals 0. I'll do that one. This is obvious, but when it comes to doing things like this, it's a good idea to go beyond the obvious. If you stop where it's obvious to you, there's a very good chance that should have been 20s instead of 30s. That needs to be 20s. That's another problem with switching gears. You see, I could just copy that into a 30s category, but I won't. Let's see, count 20s equals 0. Now, changing all the x's. It's better to just do them together. Since I'm doing this, I'm going to highlight and copy. The one x that I'm leaving. Oh, I see. This is x, is the main count x. It can stay the same here. But here, I'm going to change it. And put count once. And this x, I'll just change the x's. Then I'll go back and change the next one. Number is, the less gear switching you do as you're trying to do something like this, the better off you are. Let's see. That was the x. That one can stay because it's x, which is the primary x. I happen to use the same one for the first 10, which was a mistake for this method. Now the one in the tens is the form one, used to be called y. Okay. Beginning to think I messed up here. Yes, I did. Probably didn't matter since it was only one. I only went up to 21, so it probably didn't show it if there was going to be a real problem. I'll just leave that one off. But first, I got to get these tens, which was the first y. Output, input, count tens. Over here. And this also is a counter. Wait a minute. That's not count y equals count tens. Count tens. Now this same structure will work if you're counting anything. You just change the number of what it is, the name of what it is, instead of number if it was colors or candies or such like. But the idea of this is the thing I'm trying to show. This is a workaround, as they call it. Okay, now I've taken care of the y's, so I'll delete that. Everything that was called 30s. Since only one number is different, I can just change that. It's 2. And changing this. Same error again. As if 10 equals, it was y equals 10 plus 10 plus 1. That's not the same as 10 plus 1. And then it would probably not matter as long as it's on one thing, but it's one of those errors that can just have you running around for hours trying to find it when you finally do advance the program to where it matters. '20s, everything is done up there. Delete. Now here's a case. comes in handy to be able to copy and paste. You can press the delete key like that. There. Now I'll try it again, but I'll just go to 22. No, I'll go all the way up to 30. I will just do that afterwards anyway. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 16. I'll call that one. Probably should have done it like that the whole time, but I won't go back and do it. I don't think. 2, 3, 20. It's also not correctable if you make a mistake, so I won't be too particular about it. And then there. Looks like I messed up here. That's also something that's not seeable if you only go to 21. I stopped putting the enter into it. Looks like it worked otherwise. Yep, I didn't do that. Did do it here. I didn't put an enter here. Okay, now that should work. It does work. But going through it again. This method can get you as high as you're willing to take it. There's one thing I'd like to do. I'll put them at the same number just in case there's a very odd glitch. Or you may have it there, but it starts off as a different number. Like 11 would be 10, but that's a different kind of error. That's if you get it wrong at this point. Wait a minute. If you get it wrong here where you're saying that equals that plus that, it can wind up being the wrong number if it's different here. And making them all the very same number as a count makes it very clear when that happens. .14, or I could make it 140. Oops. That is what I really don't like about that program. You make the mistake of pressing enter, and it's just done. Even if it took you 14 minutes to get to that point in your program, the whole thing dies. I should look and see if there's a way around that, but I really doubt it at the moment. I'm making these 10 times as much just to make sure, although I don't need to now. I know for a fact that it's not just putting the X in. Like if I made a mistake of output X, the number for number X was, instead of saying count, it says X, then it would just be saying the same number, which would be the reason for making it like this, 10 times as much. But this way would be a good first way to do it. It's just that now I've already clarified that it's not the same thing. Now, are they all proper? Now, here's a problem. The first 10 do have this problem, which they didn't seem to have at first. put everything in. Let's see. Everything has a problem. The last one, last few. Alright. That is the only one that is right. The last one is right. I should look at it and see what I did right here that I didn't do right in the previous ones. Okay, let me see. Let's see. Count 20s equals count 20s plus 1. Number count 1. So this one is right, where this and this are wrong somehow. Oh, yes, I can see it here. Here the problem's clear because I made it count ones when there's nothing to increase count ones. If I had made count ones equal x, that would have been it. Same here. Let's see. What was the problem? It's 10 or 100, which is the last one I put in, which is exactly what it should be if I make the same mistake I'm thinking that I did, which would mean that each time I was putting it, the last thing I put in was 100. So it just keeps spitting out the same thing again and again. All I really need to do for this is say assignment count numbers equals x. That's it. Copying for the next one. Here the same thing. Since it's less than 10, it doesn't matter. This one is a different problem from the other one. Assignment count tens equals x. Now, even though I'm tempted to go on to the next one before checking this, I should check it. That way I know that that problem is behind me. It's not going for some reason. Just press terminate and start again. I'll use single numbers. Since that's the only thing I'm really checking. There's no reason in particular here. Now that's surprising. I can see why some people finish these out before they show them, but when you do that, you don't show the construction process. These can take a while. It worked, and then it doesn't work. I hate it when that happens. Count ones. Number. Whoa. It doesn't seem to fly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to output, and then I'm going to output. In both cases, I'm going to say count 1. I just wanted to show me count 1. Enter. Count 1. And I'm going to, no, limited, yeah, that might change something. Oh, one thing this does show is troubleshooting, since I'm thinking out loud about what I'm doing. First it was 0, then it became a 1. They all just added 20. Became a 1, then it became a 2. So that should have worked as far as I know. These are still correct. This adds 10 to everything. And this adds 20 to everything. This is not that uncommon. I've seen it at least once before. Maybe it's not that uncommon with me. And others have never heard of it. But just in case, I guess I'll continue with this. Some odd, weird reason. Oh, I think I've discovered it. Wait a minute. But that would not help the first one. What I'm thinking is, this one would be protected if x is less than that, then you do this, otherwise you do this. But if x is less than, and if x is less than 20, no, that would be fine. They are properly partitioned. I was thinking for a moment that this was getting a double hit. That it may not be this, but it is that. But it's a one-way street. It's not both ways. So if it's less than, excuse me, if it's less than 21, it'll stay in the teens category. It won't get both hits. So I think. Let me check, just in case. Make this 10. Try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check a thing, no matter how sure you are of it. That's 1. Here it works. Okay. Let's try again. 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It is getting hit. by it somehow. There's something I'm doing wrong that is allowing for a double hit. The ones get hit twice on the output. Wait a second. Make sure it's the output. Output. One, two, three. It's putting it out immediately for those. Probably should have done it for this too. Everything's right except for that. Somehow it is messing up. You know? At this point right here, this would make a nice assignment. Being given something just like this, and you have to make it work, including all the troubleshooting and everything. You might want to save it right now as a problem. Without those extras in it, that is. Matter of fact, I think I'll get rid of them and do that. Output. Delete. Okay. Discover. This is a nice troubleshooting problem. Everything goes in, right? But it comes out as garbage. There's an error here somewhere. Where is it? Now eventually I'll get the answer because I've had this problem before. Oops. As it is, this is a pretty good question. In fact, I could just go and look and find out what it was that I did in the other case that was correct. But I don't want to do that in this video because it was the actual problem during the class. I don't want this to turn into cheating. Being showed how to do a basic function thing in a program isn't cheating. Giving you the actual answer to an actual exam. Well, in any book, that's cheating. Okay. Right now, the last 10 are correct, but the first 10 are 10 over, and the middle 10 are 10 over, and the first 10 are 20 over, which means that somehow there's a retroactive effect that's taking place that leaves the last one 5. So it's not, whatever it is, it's not in this area, or in this area, or in this area. It's somewhere else. Let's see. If I were to output counts, tens, what would it say? Wait a minute. Output counts 10, it comes out Yeah, that would change its number if it was a matter to 0. 1 would be the answer. I mean, 11 would be the answer to number 12, and so on, or vice versa. Let's see. If x is greater than y. At this point, I should pause it and find out what that problem was, and then come back to save time. Just make very clearly stated what it is. But let me save it here first. In either case, cat 230 errors. Okay. Well, I guess I'll go to number B, or wait potentially 10 or 15 minutes for me to figure this out. Go to number B. Sorry about that. But this is a pretty good question. You could actually try and see if you can solve it yourself before you go to B, and see if we come up with something that works the same. It doesn't have to be the exact same wording, but it comes out the same. Okay, see you there.